Hello, ideaXme followers. This is the founder of ideaXme. I'm here with a very special person. Who are you?
Hi, I'm Mick Donegan. I'm founder and CEO of a charity called SpecialEffect. Our mission, if you like, our aims are firstly to help people with severe physical disabilities to achieve those things that they'd like to do in terms of leisure and creativity. That's our primary goal. And we have a team. I'm lucky enough to have a team that comprises of technical specialists, therapists, fundraisers, who do our best to help as many people as we possibly can do that. That's me, and I'm happy to talk about why I do it. I'm happy for you to ask whatever questions you like, but that's me.
15% of the 7.2 billion world population are classified as disabled. This represents a huge potential market for technology companies. You help two multi-million or billion-dollar companies, Microsoft and Minecraft, and you do it for free. What is your motivation for doing so?
My motivation for doing so is just some very straightforward responses to that. It does seem counterintuitive, but we don't have we obviously have non-disclosure agreements while we're working with them, obviously, but our intellectual property, such as it is, people are welcome to. If what they're aiming at is to achieve our mission, if that's what they're aiming at, then we're happy to give our ideas, and they are welcome to either take those ideas or not, or take some of those ideas or not, with a view on both sides to making their games more accessible, more enjoyable to more people. And intellectual property, any issues over intellectual property, percentage deals or whatever, we've got none of that. We give all our ideas away free if people want them. And the main reason being, first of all, there is so much to do, so much help to give out there. People with disabilities, severe physical disabilities, have such an urgent and pressing need that any obstacle, whether it be us charging for our services or intellectual property or any other agreements, would be an obstacle to just getting on with what needs to be done, and what is many things that are overdue. So that's one reason. Another reason is that if we were to have any kind of commercial agreement where we had a percentage of whatever the sales were or whatever, that would make people could make people suspicious of our motives for recommending a particular game or a particular device. Whereas if we make nothing out of any of them, anything that we help to create, then people can be assured that we are independent, and our independent opinion is for me, that's our most precious possession. That anyone, anywhere in the world, can get in touch with us and say, what are the various merits of the different eye gaze systems, and I'll be able to give them, as they do, in fact, get in touch with me, and that's a privileged position to be in. And I can say, right, these are the merits of this system, these are the merits of this system, these are the merits of this system. The choice is yours, and they'll know that I won't be saying, oh, you must get a so-and-so because it's absolutely terrific or absolutely appropriate. If I say this device sounds as if it might be appropriate for you, then, or if we recommend the device to anyone during an assessment, they'll know it's because we genuinely feel, we're independent, we genuinely feel that it's the best thing for them to achieve whatever it is that they'd like to achieve. I hope that makes sense. It might not make sense. Might not make sense to business necessarily.
No, it's fantastic. There are a number of areas in which you work. You actually visit the homes of disabled people to show them how to use the various systems to ascertain what they actually need. You adapt existing technology, but you also develop your own technologies. Could you take us through that?
Yes, absolutely. At the moment, you can't go to a store somewhere and say, I've got this particular disability at this particular stage, I want to play this particular game, or there's one there that I can pick off the shelf. A lot of it is basically the team here have a lot of experience of video games, they have a lot of experience of assistive technology, and they have a lot of experience of finding the most comfortable position for any particular individual, comfortable, effective way, or a successful way of them being able to use technology. So we will work intensively with that, and we'll find out as much information as we possibly can, wherever that person might be, whether they might be at home or in a hospital or in intensive care, wherever they are, then we will go and visit them anywhere within the UK. In fact, we've got a guy in here who's actually come to us. He's able, for a change, he lives locally, amazingly. I was up in Newcastle yesterday supporting a guy, so that was quite a long trip from Oxford. But basically, yes. We'll go anywhere. My colleagues were in Scotland last week, but we will go anywhere in the UK to work specifically with an individual. Because, okay, you might be able to send something to them through the post, but it won't be in the right position necessarily. It won't be the optimal device to enable them to achieve what they want to. So we put together, if you like, from the phone calls we make, we have what we think is the right package. So we'll take the right package. Our teams always include an occupational therapist, and they specialise in positioning the equipment, as well as knowing about technology and video games as well. They know about how to position the equipment in the most effective way for the person, safest way for the person. And quite often we'll be able to leave them with that equipment first time. We'll be able to leave it with them. They'll be able to try it, they'll feedback, and then if they need us to modify that equipment or come away and modify equipment and take it back to them, or to create some equipment, which occasionally we have to do. We've got a technical specialist who helps with that. We do some various others do different sort of modifications ourselves. We will then go back to that person until it's the optimal device for them at that time. And it's really important to remember that it's the optimal device for them at that time, because everyone we work with will change. The technology will change, the kinds of games they want to play will change, new games will come out that they won't be able to play, so we'll help them to play those. And we work with people who've had traumatic injuries or illnesses, so it might be intensive care with someone who's had a high spinal injury and on a ventilator, paralysed. It might be that we're working, so traumatic injury, sudden injury, we work with people who are born with a condition like cerebral palsy, and there'll be quite often young people who'll grow up and change physically. The kinds of games they want to play will change physically, so we'll grow up with them. It's a lifelong service. And the other group that we work with are people with a progressive condition, so motor neuron disease, spinal muscular atrophy, muscular dystrophy. And their condition, it may well be that they become weaker over time. So what they need to use to get the most out of technology at any given time will change. And we are there, available to help them at each stage until at the end of their lives, if they wish us to. So that's our approach. And from what we learn, here we go. From what we learn from all that, okay, you might say, well, that's great for that individual, but from what we learn, the whole idea is that we have that up-to-the-minute knowledge, or up-to-the-minute needs of people with complex needs and technology. And it's because of that knowledge that we have collectively, we're then able to be available to any company who wants to make their technology more accessible and to collaborate with them if they want to dip into our brains and for us to share with them as best we can. The reason why it's so important for us to get, well, lots of reasons why we want people to perform as well as they can with the technology. One reason is that in many cases, the aim is to get them to as close as possible to the level that they would be if they didn't have the physical disability. If you do that, which we often do, then they're playing mainstream games. They're actually part of the global gaming community, and they can play who they want, and they're playing at the right level. And quite often, they beat some professionals, which is terrific when that happens. So we're trying to get them as good as we possibly can. And looking at it that way, while I think of it, so I've been surprised, really. I didn't realise when I started the charity that actually access to video games is one of the most inclusive activities you can imagine for people with physical disabilities. You are right there playing on a level playing field with whoever you want, and that is a real bonus to us, obviously. Right, okay, sorry. I'm waffling.
Not at all.
But yeah.
But the context for this, or the current context, as far as the video games market is concerned, is that the NHS now recognises gaming as an illness, as a disease, and WHO has fairly recently published their paper in recognising it as a disease as well. So it's highly addictive. But tell us about Becky Tyler, whose experience has been very different, and it's a good case history for demonstrating that as far as the people with disabilities are concerned, it really sets them free by allowing them to take part in the outer world.
Absolutely. For us, our role is to provide people with access to technology who otherwise would find it very difficult to take any form of have any form of involvement in taking control of technology and actually accessing technology. So that's our role. The way people actually use it, the extent to which they use it, we can't do anything about. That's up to them. The only feedback we've had from the people we support is that it's life transforming in a positive way, enabling them to play against brothers and sisters, against friends and family, whether they're online or not, and gives them, well, one guy said, thank you for giving me my life back after we helped him play again after 15 years. He hadn't been able to play FIFA, that was his favourite game, the football game.
That was AJ.
That was AJ as well. AJ as well. No, this is a guy called Tom Clark. Sadly, he's passed away now. But we enabled him to play until the end of his life. And the biggest moment in his life, well, we knew that we'd got in the right way of accessing the computer when he wrote back to us within a week of us setting him up with the first system we set him up with. He sent us an email. It was the first time he played football. FIFA, on FIFA, the first time he played FIFA against his brother in 15 years, and he said, and I spanked him 6-1, and you realised that we'd actually succeeded. It was that important to him. And with Becky Tyler, she uses the eye gaze technology that we've helped. Played a part in. Other people have played a part in. Giving her access to it enables her to play games. She was one of the people who tested it for us and fed back to us, which is really helpful. As did other people as well. Who tried it out. But she uses Minecraft for interacting with friends. She's for being creative. She's built a theatre, a wonderful theatre in her Minecraft world, and she does performances with friends on the stage. She uses an art program to and paint some absolutely beautiful pictures in a way that she plays The Sims, which is all what a lot of other young people her age are playing. So it gives her something a reason to communicate with her friends. If she didn't have those experiences and she met with friends at school who are speaking, that it would be very difficult for them to find a way of communicating about something and sharing something. So for her, it does so many things, and that's the reason why I originally started the charity, because I was a deputy head of a special school before I then went on and went to a national centre and then formed this charity. It was because I recognised, but as a teacher, I recognised that children like her, like Becky, was so smart. You can just see. You only need to look at her to know that everything is in. You just look at her eyes, and you know that she's a very smart young person. And all I wanted to do, because I helped, I collaborated with Toby when they brought out their first gaze. Well, when we designed the gaze control interface together with them quite a while ago, in fact. But what was behind all that was me recognising. Hang on a minute. The eyes are moving independently of the body. If you look at Becky, her body is all over the place, but her eyes are actually, I mean, I'm moving now, but I'm actually looking in the same place. I'm looking at you on the screen, and basically, I was determined to try and capitalise on that skill that Becky has. But she uses that skill for all those things. She plays FIFA as well. She plays Sims, as I say. She plays Minecraft, and she's creative with art as well as. She also uses it for speech output to communicate. She uses her speech output to use with her Amazon Echo. She tells the Amazon Echo to do it with her speech output device, and she's a very, very smart person who's using technology to its full extent. People like Becky are an example to other people with disabilities around the world who don't actually realise what can be done, what could be done. So she's a model. She's for others, and we are. And part of our role is to support people like Becky in showing everybody what can be done. She's at the forefront of it. Yeah.
Where do you want to go next with SpecialEffect?
Well, it was great to collaborate with with Xbox, Microsoft to create an adaptive controller, which is an interface, which is a mainstream interface produced by Xbox, much cheaper than people would pay. It helps people with disabilities plug in their device into an Xbox. Basically, it's a hardware interface. We and several other organisations, we weren't the only ones at all, advised Xbox on how to create a device that was as helpful to as many people as possible to at least make inroads into those. Well, it's 9 billion, isn't it, of people that with disabilities. I'm sorry, around the world. So to make inroads there with a mainstream company, they'll be able to give mainstream support. So to make ourselves available to help more companies, and we have done that, and we are doing that with at the moment. It's non-disclosure with some of them, but we have worked with a number of companies. So that our ideas can spread around the world. That's basically it. The model is for us to do this one-to-one work, intensive one-to-one work, to know what we're talking about, so that developers around the world can tap into that knowledge and then produce technology that will sell by the thousands, the tens of thousands. So that's the most effective way I see of us using our skills. So I want to spread out what we're doing, and now spread our ideas in that way, or make our ideas available to be spread in that way. Part of what we're doing, as I say, with Minecraft, the following morning after we released it, I saw it online being used in Japan. That was wonderful. That was one of the best days of my life. A guy with a progressive condition over in Japan, so they downloaded it, and there he was playing Minecraft. Brilliant. And we were also here. We've also put up online. It's sort of a pilot, but it's up online already. Something called iGaze Games. We use all kinds of technology, but iGaze is something that is a little bit behind in terms of people with disabilities being able to have fun with it. To play games with it. So we've put up something called iGaze Games online, and people at the moment. You've got board games up there like chess and drafts and Sudoku, and we've got child Sudoku, and and solitaire, and future games will be driving games, racing games, and sort of action games. But those are what's there at the moment. At the moment, someone can use iGaze to play those games either with someone in the room using a touchscreen, or they can play against a computer. Now, the next move with that is to make those iGaze games, which are in a browser, available for anyone in the world to be able to play. So you will, and also available on a mobile. So you'll get, basically, once we've done all that, you will be able to you'll have anyone in the world with any input device, whether it's a gaze control, whether it's a switch, whether it's a head mouse, able to play against people anywhere in the world who might also have their an access method that's an alternative access method, but also against somebody who's on a train on their mobile, who doesn't have a disability, and they're on the way to work. So and that, as I say, that's one of the ambitions. That will be a model, really. People will be able, developers will be able to look at that and say, Yeah, well, actually, gaze control isn't rocket science, is it? That's the way they've done that interface. So when I next, make my mobile app, I'll be able to just put a button here, button there, option here, option there, and people will be able to use other methods, switch and gaze control, to use it. So that's another way of spreading our ideas. So basically, it's different ways of spreading. I've got other ambitions as well, but that's one of the next things along the line. Yeah.
So what do you need to make it all happen? What help would you like from people, and what do you want them to do?
Yeah, well, simply, what's lovely is it's actually happening already. But people, my whole idea is to do this, to do what we're doing as a team, to do work that people could actually, that resonated with people, actually people appreciated the difference that it could make to very severely physically disabled people's lives, and then to want to support it. And what's lovely is that is happening, and we are able to grow the charity nice and steadily, but we're helping more people, and we have the resources to be able to team up with other people. We're always short of resources because we're always slightly behind the curve,
Yes,
more people are asking for help, and more companies are asking.
Well, that's what I mean. So, for example, does Microsoft contribute to the charity?
We give people opportunities to developers opportunities to be able to support us, and we've got an event coming up that we call One Special Day at the end of September, and that's an we simply say that's our day when if developers, if companies around the world who make video games want to help us, then that's the day when they can help us in some way, whether it be to sell, to have on that one day they've got some kind of in-service, in-game, I don't know, a special sword or something like that. And if they sell that, and if they sell the money they make from selling those, they'll donate to us. That sort of thing on that day. Some people they might do a bake sale at their office or whatever. Whatever it is that they want to do on that day. That's the opportunity to help us, and many are. As I say, I won't go into. They're up on our website if people want to look.
Right.
If people want to help us, that's then on. I think it's September. It's the end of September anyway. The end of September. If they just look at the website, One Special Day, they'll be able to. If they play some of those games that are available, then they will be helping us by playing those games on that day. A lot of them are apps,
And if Bill Gates wants to take a look and
absolutely,
send you a very large check, you won't turn that down either.
No, we won't.
I think he should. Given how much you've helped them. But anyway, moving on. So what drives you to do what you do? You're an incredibly busy person. What drives you to do what you do? Where does it all come from?
I think. It started. I'll be very, very brief. But it started with my cousin. He had a learning disability, in fact, and he was just a little bit younger than me. But he had a difficulty with walking, a difficulty with fine motor control, and he had a difficulty with speaking. And no matter how hard, I remember every time I saw him, every time I met him. He was desperate to say my name, Michael, and I taught him. I really tried. I sort of day after day to say say my, and he'd say my, and then I'd say right, say cool, and he'd say, because he always called me Mabu basically, and he wanted to say, he knew it wasn't right, but he wanted to say Michael. And I'd train him, say my, and he'd say my, and then I'd say cool, and he'd say cool, and then I'd say that several times, and then at the end of that, I'd say, right, now, say them together, Michael, and then it would always come out Mabu. And so that's what started with that gap between what was in someone's head and someone achieved. That's what started it, and that was about 5 that I realised, hang on a minute, there's this sort of there's just there's this frustration that's inside there, and basically that took me then I went through as a mainstream teacher, and then I went into special education, and then I realised the satisfaction, first of all, working with people with learning disabilities, like my nephew, like my cousin. I'm sorry. And then I went to work with people with severe physical disabilities, and realised the huge difference. So I worked with people like Becky, and the best that was available at that time for people who were also very smart people with loads in here. The best that was available for many of them was a single switch, which is great when it's appropriate. They're still very effective devices. We use them here, but there's a huge difference between pressing a switch and waiting for the letters to scan one by one until you can choose one, or the words or the phrases to scan one by one, and just looking at it straight away. And that's the difference that for example, that gaze control makes. And it was that, hang on a minute, there's somebody really smart in there,
yes.
very, very slow, pressing this switch. It's actually not, it's very painful, and and it takes time, it's very frustrating. And then if you pressed it wrong, then you'd have to go back again until you got to delete. And I was just absolutely determined. And the difference between, what they were capable of was up here, or beyond. That's the ceiling.
Yes.
Who knows how far they go? But what they were capable of was right down here. It's only a little bit. They're only getting out a little bit of what they're capable of. What I'm driven to do is use whatever technology you've got to just try and get as close as we can for every individual to that potential, to that level of potential. And I've been lucky enough over the years through various through various roles I've had, both with special school, and I went to a national centre, deputy director of there, where we worked to help people access the curriculum, and communication aids. Through those, and now it's great for me to see people like Becky and people in other countries as well, who are models, who are showing other people what can be done. And it's that way, by spreading it out, showing people what can be done, that other people will hopefully learn about what can be done. More of these devices will be sold. More companies will say, like Xbox, maybe Sony will say, yeah, actually, Xbox did it. That's
yes.
great. We'll make a comparatively low-cost device for these people. We'll make our software gaze compatible. So it's a case of spreading the word. That's what we're doing. We're doing our best to spread the word about accessibility and the benefits of it. Yeah, so I hope that explains.
Yes, it does. Any plans to work with Fortnight?
We are already.
Okay.
Not a huge number, but
yes.
we're already. It's particularly younger people that were whatever. I forget what the age at which they can start playing, but we're helping those. To be able to play it. Yes, it's an incredibly popular game, obviously, and so yes, we are able to use whatever method we can. We don't have a gaze controlled access interface to it yet, purely gaze control. Mm-hmm. But with a lot of games, we combine different methods. There's one guy that we're working with who uses a combination of gaze control, speech, and eyebrow movement. So he plays Minecraft. He looks at the screen himself, and then he'll speak some commands, but he'll also use his eyebrows with switches to be able to select things on the screen, and that method suits him. So we'll use whatever technology is available, whatever is the best, most comfortable for people to get to play. So yeah, Fortnite. Any game that people want to play. Any age that they might be, and we were working with a chap in his 80s who'd had a stroke. He used to play golf. He's bedbound most of the time now. So we found him a way to be able to use one hand with a one-handed controller and a couple of switches so that he can play golf at home and play against anyone who he wants to in the world. It's not the same as the real thing, I know, but it's a lot closer than where he was, just watching a television and not being able to engage. Yeah.
Have you ever had a situation where suddenly you've been bedbound for a while and felt trapped?
Not really. I've only dreamt about it, and it's been very, very scary. Yeah, I dreamt about it, and when I was younger, I don't know why. I didn't have that weird a childhood, I promise you. But when I was younger, I used to, and maybe a lot of other happens to a lot of other children or people, but I sometimes used to wake up in the mornings and I couldn't move. I was awake, but I couldn't move my body, and I couldn't speak, and I had to actually really work very hard to be able to move my body. And but yeah, I mean that's I mean that's not necessarily the reason, but one of the areas that I'm very, very, very passionate about is doing what we can for people with locked-in syndrome, or people with completely locked-in syndrome, which is when there's no eye movement, there's no evidence of movement at all, and those are people who I feel, I hope more can be done for. We're doing a little bit in that area, just dipping our toes in it, and we'll see where we get. But it's an area. I mean, I can't even begin to imagine how someone would feel if they can't make any impact at all on their environment and or communicate with anyone. So yeah. That's an area that we're very interested in. We are interested in brain-computer interfaces. I know this. I've already used up a lot of time here, but it's an area that we are interested in. But we are only dipping our toes into the water with that. But it's an exciting area, which is what I'll come back to in a second when we talk about Professor Benavid, his amazing work. Yeah.
Well, on that note,
yes.
who would you like to meet, and what question would you like to ask?
This won't be particularly exciting, my question, but basically it's just really to someone who I've been lucky enough to meet, and who I have a sort of huge admiration for, is a chap whose team I met when I was an advisor for a European project, which Horizon 2020, which was designing a roadmap for brain-computer interface research in the future. I met his team and was very excited by his work, and was lucky enough this time last year to meet him and his team in Grenoble. Basically, Professor Alim Louis Benavid, he's a neurosurgeon, incredible guy. And he did groundbreaking research back in the 80s, which was deep brain stimulation to help people with Parkinson's, for example, and other movement conditions. Now, I hadn't realised that it was the same guy who was the person behind an organisation called Clinatech now, based in Grenoble. The work that they are doing is incredibly exciting, in that there are exoskeletons around that let you, that help people who are paralysed to walk.
Yes, Professor Hugh Herr at MIT is one of the people that works with that. Yes,
absolutely, and so to enable people to walk is a great work that's going on there. Well, with the work that Professor Benavid is doing, and I don't know if it's unique or not. It's unique in my experience, but basically he's using an exoskeleton, a full exoskeleton from, as I understand it, the American military, and it's designed as a whole body exoskeleton. So for people, so if someone's paralysed, as well as enabling them to be able to walk. The research and the work is still in progress. It's going up. It's coming along. But the people will not only be able to walk, but they'll be able to stand upright, and they'll be able to move their arms and grip as well, even if they're paralysed. The work is at early stages, but because they've had to go through all kinds of ethical issues. But it involves communicating with that exoskeleton through thought. It's basically there's a brain implant which Professor Benavid's team are able to carry out themselves, And that brain implant will, with training for the person involved, it will control the exoskeleton to do those things. As I say, the work's in its early stages. I saw how far they'd got. I was privileged to see how far they'd got. A young guy had had the implant, and he was beginning to train on how to use it by raising his arms to grip things, just practicing. And basically, my simple question is, I'd love to go back and see him and just say, what are you doing now a year on? Because it's so exciting. So, and I hope to be able to answer that question soon. But it's that kind of work, that kind of groundbreaking, out there work that I so admire. You know, and I really, this is, and it's Professor Benabid's baby, this. And I just people like that, who've got this kind of idea, this obsession, they you know, and they're determined to make it happen. I just think that's great, and so I've got a huge amount of respect for it. Yeah.
So, what's your philosophy in life?
Oh, that's a really good one. Wasn't expecting that one. I guess it's really simple. I guess it's just to kind of sort of just help as many people as I can as I go. I'm hoping basically to make more people happy than I make unhappy. I think if by the time that if at the end on the ledger more people have benefited from, you know, knowing me, then great. So I'll settle for that. It does. I'm afraid it's no deeper than that. I'm sorry. That's about as deep as it goes.
That's lovely. Mick Donegan, founder of SpecialEffect, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Pleasure. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.